Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday, you guys. We are very, very excited to be here for this final dotFIT Masterclass of 2020. My name is Kat Bearfield. I am the VP of Nutrition Services for dotFIT, also the head registered dietitian, and we are bringing to you some hot topics in the fitness industry. And of course, my co-presenter here is our fearless leader, founder, and CEO, Neil Spruce. And he's got something real special today. Not only is he going to be covering some hot topics, but at the end, we'll hear his take on New Year's resolutions. So you'll get some of the evidence and you'll get, some of his secrets of success, if you will. And then we'll close a little bit on a little special offer for all of you guys that we put together. So just a couple housekeeping rules as we get started. You're in listen only mode, which means that we can't hear you, and we're going to be capturing a recording. I get this question all the time. We typically post the recording on our website same day. So later this afternoon, it'll be posted in case you want to share. You have to leave a little bit early. We'll do that. If you want to ask questions, the way you submit questions is you just open up the questions tab. There's a little arrow that's pointing to the right. You just click on that, it'll expand, and you can type in your questions at any point in time throughout the webinar. And then Neil's always happy to stay to answer all your questions. Neil, do you have a hard stop today?
Yeah, 12:30, so we're good.
Okay, awesome. So we'll be around till 12:30 Pacific time to answer all of your questions. We'll post the slides as well for those of you who'd like to have them on our website. So don't worry about that part. Just relax, sit back. And Neil, if you don't have anything to add in the beginning, I'll get started and then I'll hand it off. What do you think?
Yeah, so let's get going.
Okay, so if you guys should be able to see my screen, hot topics in fitness. Do you still see my screen?
Yeah, we see it perfect. Yeah, we have all of us up there. Yep. You want it like that, right? Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yell at me, you guys, if you can't see my screen. So here we got content to be presented. The topics for today, I'll cover fasting. I'll cover diet breaks, and then I'll hand it off to Neil, and he'll finish us off with vitamin D, the latest research on that. Collagen seems to be something that everyone's interested in, including Neil's wife, which we'll tell you about. And then, like I said, New Year's resolutions and some special offers in conjunction with NASM and their very new, that they just released their weight loss specialist course. And then we've got a couple promos to give to you guys as well for the month of December. Okay, so let's dig into fasting, right? Fasting is probably one of the highest diet trends that we're seeing nowadays. In particular, fasting for weight or fat loss is what we're going to focus on. I know that a lot of people are interested in fasting for health, longevity, maybe some buzz terms you've heard like autophagy, etc. And we're going to focus this piece on fasting for weight and fat loss. And so to give it a working definition, fasting is defined as little to no eating for a specified time period. And it's sort of this, intermittent fasting is sort of used as this umbrella term for the various types of fasting. So at the very top, you'll see alternate day. Of course, we have an acronym for that, right? ADF, alternate day fasting. And that is when people consume typically, between 0 to 25% of their, calorie needs for the day, depending on the study that you look at, followed by 24 hours of unrestricted eating or ad libitum eating, as you'll see in the research. So basically 0 to no eating, then you eat whatever you want, back and forth, back and forth. That's alternate day. The second type is periodic whole day fasting. And that's when you have at least one day, right? At least one day of whole day fasting interspersed. So the typical protocol would be a 5-2 fast, which would be, maybe you eat your normal diet, throughout the week, except for Monday and Wednesdays when you eat nothing or maybe a little bit, maybe 500 calories or so. So that would be the 5-day. And then the final type of fasting is time-restricted eating. You're going to see this in the research as time-restricted feeding. They call it feeding when it's animal research, eating when it's human research. And that's daily practice of unrestricted eating, so eat whatever you want, within a set time period, right? So the very common one you'll see is 16-8. And there's also religious and spiritual practices that have gone on for many, many, many years, like Ramadan fasting that Muslims practice. So those are the different types. What does the actual research tell us about how effective fasting and weight loss, how effective it is? Well, in 2018, the last time we talked about this was in our Popular Diets Masterclass. And in 2018, it was fairly new that we included animal and human studies in this research review, and you basically saw weight loss across the board, a small percentage, as you can see. And the protocols of these different studies included in this review, they really varied by the different types that I just reviewed, and also different populations. So again, the researchers were just sort of collecting the data, and summarizing it into this research review. And what they found was that the control trials with the different forms of fasting in comparison to traditional dieting, and traditional diet is basically you're in a deficit all the time, right? Those studies up to a year showed similar fat and weight loss results. So a lot of promise with fasting. However, you did see in alternate day fasting, ADF, switching from no eating to eating, no into eating, it was really hard to do. And you saw dropout rates of around 40%. Now we're here in 2020, and there's been an updated research review, right? This is the latest systematic review on fasting and weight loss. And so what they've done here is now we've expanded the studies to include overweight and obese participants, with all 27 of the trials in this review, showing little weight loss, 0.8 to 13% of starting body weight. So we're continuing on this trend of showing fasting to be effective for weight loss. These are typically short-term in duration, 2 to 26 weeks, again, varying in protocol, and same thing, little to no eating on the non-fasting days. So again, this research review was basically showing almost the same thing as the one 2 years ago, the 12 studies that had controlled trials of intermittent fasting to traditional dieting, similar weight loss, similar adherence. So that's pretty good news, right? As of late, we've seen studies now looking at fasting in combination with resistance training, right? So that sort of applies more to our population, people that are working out, and because people want to know, is it going to affect my lean body mass? Is it going to, am I going to lose muscle? Because we don't want to lose muscle. And so these 8 studies, still a small amount of studies, and what they found was in active trained individuals that are overweight or normal weight, so not elite athletes, what they found was in short-term studies, you pretty much saw a maintenance of your lean body mass, right? So that's everything that's not fat, muscle included. So when people resistance training and they fast, they appear to maintain their muscle tissue as well as experience some loss of body fat. And that was across 5 to 8 of the studies. So that's still a bit preliminary, but it's good news. You got to, keep in mind that these are pretty much short-term studies. So a few takeaways on fasting. Going into the new year, this is one of those things where if you have clientele that are like, I don't want to count calories, they're resistant to it, there's nothing that you can do to get them to track. This is one of the strategies that you could attempt. It's a simple thing. You just pick a strategy, whether it's alternate day, whether it's time restricted eating, and you say, just eat within this window, and let's see if this is something that'll work for you. You don't have to, follow macros, etc. So it is simple. Right? It's not necessarily optimal in terms of meeting protein intakes, etc., but it's a simple strategy. It also appears to be equally effective at, traditional dieting. You see a spontaneous reduction of what people are eating. They spontaneously eat fewer calories. And if you read the studies closely, people don't make up for it on the non-fasting days, at least in the studies that have been reviewed so far. In the short-term studies, they appear to retain or maintain their lean body mass if they're also resistance training, right? So again, the value of your services and getting them to keep weight training. There is emerging research on things like the gut microbiome, other biohealth markers, but a lot of that stuff is still really focused in the animal research. So I wouldn't, look into it too deeply at this point. Adherence, you may be hungry on those fasting days. So that's sort of a con, just something to take into account, especially if you're training hard on those days. It may negatively impact your social life. So if you got parties, if you got events and you're on a tight window, or if you're not eating that day, that's something you've got to deal with. And because of all these reasons, there are no, best practices, for fasting. So you sort of, this one of these things that you can play with, but there's no standard best practices to follow. And of course, longer studies are needed we're all interested in not just weight loss, but longer maintenance and keeping that weight off. Okay, so that's intermittent fasting.
So Kat,
Fasting
let
in
me
general,
say something
ways.
real quick.
Yeah.
Kat?
Please, Neil.
Yeah, so my takeaway from everything that you just said is this: there is no benefit to it over the normal, properly calorically restricted diet and weight training. There's no benefit. In fact, the detriment would be, and I like what you put in here, the negatively impacting your social life. I can promise you it'll do that, especially during the holidays, okay? And adherence is going to be difficult. There's no question. So no benefit there. That doesn't mean we're not going to talk somebody out of it, because there may be somebody that the only way they can stick to a diet is to do that. So that becomes very individual, but certainly not broad-based. That's my takeaway all the way.
Absolutely. That's the biggest takeaway, is not better than any other traditional dieting or other modes that may be more optimal in terms of protein intakes, etc. But like you said, it's, for some people, it's simple and it's the only thing they can stick to. Yeah. So good. That's a good recap. Okay, so let's move on to diet breaks. Diet breaks is something that's been talked about a lot as of late, and let's give it some descriptions here. So these are periods of consuming your maintenance calories in between periods of restricting calories or being in a deficit. A lot of people think diet breaks are like, eat whatever you want in unlimited quantities. That's not what a diet break is in this perspective, the way we're going to look at it. Okay, it's also known as, you'll see in the literature and the research, or maybe other things that you're reading, you see it as IER, acronym for intermittent energy restriction. You'll also see it as refeeds, and some people, the bro science, if you will, or in certain gym circles, they'll refer to it as cheat days or cheat meals. Okay, and so the aim of this is at making weight loss a little bit easier, obviously alleviating hunger and cravings, feelings of deprivation. And also the main aspect, I believe, is at something called adaptive thermogenesis. And that's when your body slows your metabolic rate as a survival mechanism while you're dieting, because dieting is something that your body perceives as a threat. So the whole premise behind studying diet breaks was, let's see if we can make dieting easier. Let's see if we can prevent this adaptive thermogenesis. Let's see if that'll help in the long term to prevent weight regain. Okay, so that's sort of the backstage or background on diet breaks. So probably the breakthrough study in this regard happened a couple years ago with the MATADOR study. And MATADOR is an acronym, as you can probably gather, which stands for minimizing adaptive thermogenesis and deactivating obesity rebound, right? Basically preventing your metabolism from dropping, above and beyond the weight loss effects, and then also preventing you from regaining the weight, which of course we know is very common when people are dieting for long periods. And so in this study, what they took 46 obese sedentary men, and they randomized them to the intermittent or continuous energy restriction. So let me define that. So the group that was continuous means they were in a 33% calorie deficit for 16 weeks. So this is a highly controlled study as well, because all their food was prepared for them. They had their resting energy expenditure measured at baseline and every 4 weeks. And then they had a post follow-up study at 8 weeks and at 6 months. So it was probably the highest quality study so far in this population, sedentary obese individuals. The second group, they also were in a 30% calorie deficit for 16 weeks, but the difference is they only were dieting or in that deficit for 2 weeks, and then they took a 2-week break, where they ate at maintenance. And once again, it wasn't free for all. All the food was prepared, with the caveat is they could choose their own snacks here or there. So total for them lasted 30 weeks, but same amount of time in a calorie deficit. All right, so pretty interesting, right? And really well controlled. So what do we observe in this MATADOR study? Well, basically the group that took diet breaks, they lost more weight. And you can see on the graph here, the continuous being the dotted line, the one with diet breaks indicated by the INT, the line, they lost significantly more weight, 31 pounds versus 20 pounds. Again, same amount of time in a calorie deficit. The diet break group also lost more fat mass. Okay, so that's pretty significant. The fat-free mass loss was similar. You're always going to observe a little bit of fat-free mass, right? Loss in dieting. And then because they were measuring their resting energy expenditure, that was maintained better in the group that had that diet breaks. So pretty cool to see that. You know, I mean, if people tend to want their weight loss fast, but it's kind of looks like it'd be beneficial, and maybe it fits into people's lifestyles to be able to take some diet breaks. Now, in regards to what about people who work out, right? And people who are leaner, who are not obese. Well, this is a fairly recent study that was done this past year in Bill Campbell's lab. He has this physique lab down at the University of South Florida, and he basically took young males and females in their 20s, again, pretty lean, and they had one group with 25% calorie deficit, and they had the other group do 5 days of a higher deficit, 35% of calories that they abstained from, followed by 2 days of maintenance calories, and those maintenance calories were from carbohydrates only, right? So their protein was the same, etc. And what they found was, over 7 weeks and 4 days of resistance training, which sounds pretty, standard for a lot of us that are in the fitness industry. They also did a 25-gram dose of whey protein after resistance training to get their protein intakes up to that amount that Neil always talks about, right? A gram per pound of lean body mass. They found that the people who had a quote unquote refeed or a break at the end of the week, they maintained their fat-free mass significantly better. So that's interesting, right? So this is the refeed group or the diet break group right here. If you put all the data together, you see a better effect in the people that had the weekend, if you will, the weekend diet breaks. The resting metabolic rate was also slightly better maintained in the diet break, small but significant, 38 calories versus 79. So that's a key takeaway as well. So Neil, my takeaway from this is it fits into people's lifestyle nicely, right? On the weekend, you want to eat a little bit more. If you can stay at maintenance and not go overboard, like this might be a pretty good strategy, particularly if you're not significantly overweight, at least according to this study, and you just want to get rid of those vanity pounds. What do you think?
Totally agree. I mean, it's just it's a remake of what we did in the 70s as bodybuilders and 80s, and we still do it today. 3 days low. I mean, I'm not a bodybuilder anymore, but I still obviously work with bodybuilders, and I did it. I just did it with the most famous actor in the world. I just worked with, with 3 days low, 1 day high. That's what you do, and that's the diet break. At the end of the day, 3 days you're dying because you're in a hurry to get someplace. As far as that goes, then 1 day high pumps the metabolism back up again a little bit. Everything kind of levels out. You maintain lean body mass as long as you're taking, and that's what I love about this study, as long as you're taking the protein after the workout, right? Making sure you get that in. That will save you. All that will save you. And we use Amino Boost without the calories. So you get the same effect as protein there. Yeah, no, I love it.
And the person you're talking about was much happier once he got those 1 day high in, like just the whole,
that's for sure.
This whole mindset was different.
All the people, all the years that I've worked with,
Okay, so I'm going to hand it off to Neil, you guys. If you have questions for me, you can enter it into the questions area. We'll field those at the end. So let me just give me a second so I can pause my screen and give it to Neil, and then he'll pick up with the rest of the hot topics that we have going for you. Vitamin D, collagen protein, New Year's resolutions, and we'll wrap it up with a little special offer from NASM and from us.
Show my screen, right?
You want to share it? drop down there.
But show it, right?
Hit that drop down.
No, I'll have to get Chad set it up there.
I'm glad I kicked my dog out because he's yelling now. Hashtag working from home.
Kat, I think you gotta give me something here.
Okay, hold on. It says waiting to view Neil's screen.
Should be on there, right? I just okay. Just
Give us a
this.
sec, guys. Let's work through these technical guilt. Waiting to view Neil's screen.
Yeah, let's just stay with this. We're getting there. Ha.
Yep, got it. Perfect.
Well, maybe for you.
No, I just gotta.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's all that matters.
We'll get there in a minute. Okay, perfect. It's not mine there. I just saw it down there. There you go.
I'm
Get
looking
out
at
of
all
that.
the people in attendance. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah. Looking forward to the questions when we get done. Okay, good. We're there. I'm gonna stay there. Kat, what are you saying? You seeing the whole?
We're seeing the difference. We're still seeing it.
Presenter view. I see the
Okay.
presenter view.
Then just flip it. Let's go up there and
Not
duplicate
what
this screen up that top.
And it's not. All right, so now.
I see some questions coming in, you guys. So if you've got them, type them into this questions bar. Hi, Philip. Philip says hi.
Go up there.
Type in the questions bar or in the chat. Let me know if you've tried a diet break before.
Go up here. And just
Or let me know if you've
go there and
done
go to
intermittent fasting.
duplicate
Anyone
slideshow.
fasting right now? We'd love to get your take
It's taken.
on if you've tried fasting.
Let's go to. It's not doing what I tell it to do.
I can always do it for you, Neil, if you want. You know,
Yeah,
we
but
could
the
always.
problem is that I can't advance it properly. I can't just say advance it every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It just,
Okay. So
yeah.
who is fasting, you guys? Who's tried it? Or who's tried diet breaks?
You have 2 of them up there.
Type it in the
Yeah.
questions or in the chat.
See the minute.
I see
minute
some
or
of you
so.
have.
If you can see this, then they see that. It's
Then they see
it's-
what?
They see the. They
I
see
know, we
that
don't wanna see
presenter
that.
view. That's
You-
the
and you
problem.
can't-
I can't get it in. I can't. It doesn't. Go to meeting's taking it over.
Hers did. Hers worked fine.
You can leave it like that if you want. It's the presenter view, but it's fine. Yeah,
What about that? What are you seeing now?
I see the presenter view, but it's fine. I mean, everyone, I think if you guys are good with
all right.
presenter view, like, we'll just make it work. Yeah.
They're seeing.
Oh, they're not. Yeah, they're seeing just us. They're not seeing the presenter view.
Someone got hangry trying
right.
fasting. We were just in it. I don't know what happened.
All right. So I guess I can look at it. I can't even see it like this. So that's the problem.
Yeah, Carlos, he's here. Hi, Carlos. He saw the presenter view too. So at the bottom right, if you select presenter, at the bottom right of the screen, if you just put it in presenter mode, what happens? Oh, Linda says she's done 16-8. That would be time restricted eating, and it's been great. She's maintaining a 10-pound loss. What time do you eat from, Linda? Just curious. Mahel, is that how you say your name? I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. You've done intermittent fasting 16-8. Darby says I have and got hangry. Totally get that, right? I get hangry too, I'm telling you.
Minute I show them this.
Majel?
Just leave it like that. If they can see that.
Majel?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
not the end of the world.
Linda starts at 11 and finishes at 7. Yeah, I've heard that protocol. That's pretty common to see the 11-7. Philip done
Right.
16.8. Did you get any results on 16.8, Phil? Were you trying to lose weight? Tell us about your fasting experience while we deal with these technical issues.
Well, we're going to leave it like this, Kat. Are you seeing it?
Okay, I see it.
Presenter
Someone
view?
type in the chat. Someone type in the questions or the questions for me if they see Neil's presenter view. You guys see that?
I just want to, we're going to have to leave it like this. For some reason, it will not accept the
Okay.
presenter view. Are you good?
Okay.
Make sure
Yep,
someone
we're good.
else,
So-
make sure someone else, is it good for everybody else, Chad, you think?
Yep,
should
it's
be
good
good.
for
Okay,
everybody else.
he's-
They're seeing it as well.
Okay, great. All right.
All
Sorry
right.
about that, guys.
Okay.
All right. Someday we'll
All right,
figure
here we
this
go.
out. Okay. All right, so here we go. Extra vitamin D. Now, of course, vitamin D got on everybody's radar thanks to Dr. Fauci, and yet it's been on our radar since 40 years ago. So anyway, let's get into kind of what's happening today and where it really fits in your program beyond a multivitamin mineral that contains vitamin D, and beyond what the kind of the recommendations are, the old recommendations versus the new. All right, so the bottom line is, let's just do a quick little recap so you don't forget that vitamins don't work in a vacuum, which is what I don't like about what people are talking about vitamin D to help you with the virus and help you with the treatment and all that. I just don't like that, because they don't work by themselves. If they don't have helpers, you're not going to get a value out of it at the end of the day. They all work together. So let's do a real quick recap, right? You know, basically vitamin D is a separate supplement, has the same rationale as the other things, which, you know, let's take a look here. So let's just go back to this real quick right here. All right, so bottom line, like vitamin D, like all vitamins, right, are indispensable to human life. In other words, you don't start life without vitamin D. You don't start it and you can't continue it, period, right? Every human system, cardiovascular, muscular, brain, immune, skeletal, is vitamin mineral dependent, right? You don't start human life with a medicine, you start it with nutrition. Write that down, okay? Life doesn't start or continue without all 32 working synergistically. None of them work in a vacuum. All 32 have to be there to form a human life, okay? Which is why they're called essential. We've established what the vitamin mineral RDA is, which is the amounts of these to optimize structural and functional health outcomes at all life phases. We've established that, not me, scientist. Less than the RDA, just simple math equation, it's not a trick equation, creates a lesser structure and functional potential of all these things we just named up here. Very simple, right? No one gets the RDAs from food alone. We've proven that in thousands and thousands of studies. Therefore, you should supplement the diet in corrective amounts. Real simple equation, right? Low dose, inexpensive, to fill the gaps, to make sure we hit the RDAs. And that includes C and D can go over that number, which we'll look at in a minute. All right, vitamin D as a separate supplement right now is the same thing. So everything we just talked about. Here's what you still see from the Institute of Medicine, which is just something that was created back in the 70s. As long as your vitamin D level is around 20 nanograms per milliliter, that's all you need for bone health. Well, things have changed since then. So all your top scientists, now that we discovered vitamin D doesn't just support bone growth and health, it supports almost every part of the body. They say you need more to get that all done. So that's what it comes down to. And to get those numbers that all the new scientists are talking about right now, including Fauci, you'll need an extra supplement, right? Unless you're a longtime user like me of a vitamin mineral supplement that contained 1,000 IUs or 25 micrograms of vitamin D, right? So I don't need an extra supplement, but I can guarantee, well, about 100% of the, 99% of the rest of the world does, okay? Bottom line, to get to any of those numbers. Now that's what I don't like about the recommendation that, oh, take a vitamin D. It's too late. You got to start early and let it get there, right? So the bottom line is everyone could add by the way, everything you need to know about vitamin D is on these first two slides. Everyone could add a 1 or 2 daily vitamin D supplements separate from your multi during high health risk or strenuous prolonged activity, like we have all our athletes. By the way, as you know, we take care of well over 200 pro and college teams, and their number one supplement they buy for their athletes is vitamin D. All right, but the earlier you start, It is a lifelong, first of all, like I just said, the earlier you start, the better the health outcomes in each phase of life. That's what you need to remember. So here's the final answer to that, and we'll get to the science in a second. Take a complete multivitamin mineral, right, with a minimum of 800 IUs. Now, of course, which is 20 mics, which we have 1,000 in ours and 1,200 in our actives when you take the right two. And, right, if you're an athlete or periods of during high health risk, add 1 vitamin D supplement, okay? And there you go. Everything you need to know is on those first 2 slides. You can just hand that off to your clients. But let me take you through a little history lesson. So first of all, vitamin D is kind of a misnomer because it's a hormone, right? I mean, that's because we had to evolve that way because food sources are extremely scarce. They were then and they are now. So early humans, very scarce food sources, unless you're eating fatty fish, which obviously early humans couldn't find or even know how to catch them. In those things, you're getting very little. So the human body evolved to be able to create it, vitamin D, from sunlight. All right. So we evolved to be able to make it from sun. Now, the good news is back then you had short lifespans. I mean, no one even lived into their 20s. That's why, females still today, we haven't evolved out of that. We mince at age 12 because you got to get pregnant because you're going to be dead by 20, right? Well, that doesn't work. That's not the way it is today, but that's the way it was then. So all these reasons are, it was no big deal when you die so young here. But the Industrial Revolution, we moved indoors. We're no longer getting vitamin D because we moved indoors. Farming wasn't the main way, or ranching or living off the land. So deficiencies after the Industrial Revolution, we moved indoors to work, were widespread. We had bone deformities, rickets, all the things that you've ever seen, osteopenia. I mean, everything was happening to everybody, okay? And that's what became the onset of fortification because no one was getting it from dietary sources. So that was the eventual milkman. And for those of you that are so young, you don't remember the milkman was ubiquitous. It was everywhere, right? Everybody had milk delivered. Look at old movies. You'll see milk on the front, on the doorsteps. Everyone did because what they did, milk was the most ubiquitous source of food. And of course, the only complete source of food there is on the planet. They fortified it with vitamin D, knowing that people would have to drink the milk regularly, and then we get the vitamin D because vitamin D isn't naturally in milk either. It's fortified in there. So that's how we got it. And we actually changed it. We pretty much wiped out deficiencies completely by doing that, and everybody drank milk. Well, now we got a whole nother problem. Current longer lifespans, because we're living longer, right, allow insufficiencies. So not necessarily deficiency, but insufficiencies. So, just like 20 nanograms or whatever, to manifest beyond bone, compromising most other systems, including your immune system, and setting off an avalanche of research, as you've seen recently, and brand new recommendations as of 2010 from top experts. IOM is just, they're in the public sector, so it takes forever to make them change their thing. So we ignore them completely on vitamin D for sure. So decreases in sun exposure, and people all of a sudden non-dairy diet. So we got veganism right now, have brought back deficiencies. So we are right back to the Stone Age, bringing deficiencies and bone deformities and things like this. So and plus we have currently this aversion to fatty fish that we just, in the US, for some reason, people just don't eat fatty fish. Likeness, we have a shrinking likeness for milk for some strange, bizarre reason, right? And it's internet probably propagated, right? And then impractical and unhealthy sun exposure, which is true. Obviously, we don't want too much sun exposure. Bad things happen to your skin. We have all kinds of skin diseases happen from that. And that is now forced supplementation. And because of that, it is the #1 most globally recommended supplement on the planet, based on what we just talked about. All right, so 97 to 100% are below the ear. Now, the ear isn't even a number you want to go to. The ear is what we call estimated average requirement, which is well below the RDAs. So it's based on bone health only. And guess what the definition is? A nutrient intake that is estimated to meet the requirement of only half the healthy. Well, I hope I'm not in the other half. okay, at any particular life stage. The RDA, on the other hand, is a level sufficient to meet nutrient of nearly all healthy, okay, which, and of course, no one hits the RDA. So vitamin D from foods. The vitamin D deficiency is its own pandemic. And for those of you that don't know what a pandemic, the definition, I know we all do, you better know by now. It's an epidemic occurring worldwide, okay? And this is it. Vitamin D is its own pandemic. Over 1 billion known. Well into not just insufficient, that's 100%. You are now in the deficiency, okay, where you're going to have some serious problems in life, including your immune system. And then, of course, let's just fast forward to 2020. COVID-19 brings vitamin D to the forefront. 400, thanks to Dr. Fauci, a 400% increase in sales, right? And he suggested regular usage of it and vitamin C as he does. And he doesn't just do it for the virus, he's been doing it for a long part of his life once he understood, obviously, all of that. And just a quick little thing, I'm not going to talk about this, but this just shows you, this is all inside your body. Here's your gut. Vitamin D comes in, it comes in from the sun, it comes in from your food, comes into the gut, and it goes to all these parts of the body. Well, vitamin D supports the functioning of most body systems. We thought it was all bone. That's the only place it ever went back, 20, 30 years ago, right? But then all of a sudden we discovered vitamin D receptors, so VDRs, in all parts of the body, everywhere. In the immune system, you got vitamin D receptors. Well, if there's a vitamin D receptor, it needs vitamin D. And if you don't get enough vitamin D, it's going to get robbed. We're going to rob Peter to pay Paul. It's going to go straight to the bone because that's its primary function. Immune system's going to suffer. Muscles will suffer, right? Other tissues that have vitamin D receptors in them, all of these other ones. So you've got these kind of listed here, your prostate, colon, breast cells, all these things. They're everywhere in the body, okay? And then, guess what? Then we discovered in muscle. Once we discovered it was in muscle, that changed the world of sports. We found vitamin D receptors in the muscle cell. Well, you must have a reason, okay? And so now we use it in the older population to attenuate muscle weakness, okay? And that reduces the related falls, injuries, and everything else, making it very popular in sports and aging. Because the last thing you want is, obviously, you want to maximize, muscular development for in sports as well. So that's why I was telling you earlier that it is is our number one supplement with all our sports teams at this particular point, because everybody's reading the same research we are. Okay, so in the immune system, vitamin D is what they call a pro-survival vitamin, because it controls the immune response, right? And of course, what we've seen and what Fauci talks about decreases the risk of viral infections. Nothing stops a virus. Vitamin D is not going to stop you from getting it. It goes in you. Your body hasn't seen it. You're going to get it. It's how you react to it. So when that antigen enters the body on this red stuff, right? So you end up with this. You end up in here, gets in the cell, and of course your body does what it's supposed to do. It starts a response against it, and that causes inflammation. Right, all the way through here. So these cells here, your immune cells, just go crazy here when the bad guy gets in here. Well, vitamin D controls that. It balances out the stress response. Okay, that's why it's called a survival. Otherwise, the inflammation will kill you. Without enough vitamin D, this just doesn't do a good job, and the inflammation gets crazy, bacteria gets in it, and you end up with an infection. You're on a ventilator and all these other different things because your vitamin D was so low on all that. And that's why vitamin D has made the headlines. So the stress and damage here, that's the red arrows, get in there, right? They enter the cell and they kick off vitamin D, right? And that will respond and promote, all of these cells, like your T cells, your killer cells, and your dendritic cells and so forth, to be able to control the inflammation and manage it. So you have an anti-inflammation response to the inflammation that's necessary from it. So that's what it is, just trying to restore balance. And that's what vitamin D does right inside the cell there. Okay, when you look at vitamin D in sports, all right? So here's the vitamin D in sports that's in your PDSRG, because I wrote that back in the about 2018, and I'll give you the new one. Bottom line is athletes have the same deficiency. as the general population. In fact, 5% of college athletes actually met the RDA, right? But that doesn't mean they had the right levels. We found 0 in basketball players, because of course they play indoors. We found 0, not one single one had the right levels of vitamin D. All right, and then of course, when you wear a uniform, you got the same issue on the outside. All right, so here's the bottom line. Serum levels of 30 nanograms per milliliter. Don't forget, that's the number greater than or equal to 30 was sufficient for mineralization and non-mineralization bone matrix, okay? These are athletes we're talking about. Vitamin D increases also insulin growth factor, which is huge when it comes to bone formation in the first place. But you start getting over or equal to 40 nanograms per milliliter. That's going to take a supplement whether you like it or not, right? Offer protective effect on the development of stress fractures. And I can't tell you how important that is, not to growing kids, not just growing kids, but also to athletes, obviously, most importantly there. 20 nanograms, which is the IOM says is okay, which is, we know it's not, is associated with double the risk of tibial and fibular fractures in female naval cadets. So that's what they tested during this time, right? So compared to greater than 40 nanograms. So that's huge. You can imagine that now to that just transfers all same thing to athletes. Now, greater than or equal to 30 nanograms per milliliter, and this is all easily determined. Almost every doctor is doing these blood tests when you get a physical now, right? If your doctor's not, make them do it or change it. Change your doctor. Correlated with the regeneration of muscle force as well. This is a big one for athletes, obviously. Okay. So at the end of the day, the researchers agreed in this meta-analysis, which is through 2018, greater than 50 nanograms may be required for athletes to achieve maximal physical performance, and that includes recovery. Here's the latest one, just came in, and this is the title of it, The Importance of Maintaining Adequate Levels of Vitamin D and to the possible positive influence supplementation has on immune and musculoskeletal functions in athletes, benefiting their performance and preventing future injuries. Ditto above. Came out with exactly the same conclusions. So we got that. So here we go. So summary and best recommendations for vitamin D. Vitamin D, again, obviously is a vitamin hormone. And it's active, we now know it's active in all body regions, and especially important to bone formation and immunity, right? And proper levels support what we call the prevention before cure approach. It's not a treatment. That's what I can't stand about what they're talking about with COVID. You know, you think vitamin D and you're treating it. It's too late. It's prevention. If levels are low, it takes months. Now remember this, write this one down. It takes months of regular supplementation to achieve adequate status. And vitamin D doesn't work in a vacuum, so why would you take it by itself? That's what I don't like about these recommendations during this viral period. You need a complete multivitamin mineral that's got at least the RDA, 800 IUs of vitamin D, right? And then you take an extra one during that period if you want to. But the bottom line is it takes months and months to get those levels up where they belong. And it doesn't work by itself. It works with the other 30 vitamins and minerals that you need, okay? That's why it doesn't work for some people and it does for others. Other people might be getting enough of some of those things, you know, from whatever else they're eating, okay? Other people aren't getting enough of any of those things. So now it's not working for them. So again, experts, including Fauci, recommend achieving levels set by what we call the endocrine system. So this was the guidelines that they created in 2010, which is the 30 nanograms in here. So this is it. So it's a simple vitamin D test, 30 to 40 nanograms per milliliter is what we're looking for. And the bottom line, as I mentioned, it may not be possible with single high-dose vitamin D supplementation. It may not be possible without single high-dose vitamin D supplementation. In other words, what's beyond, and this is an important paragraph for all of you. In other words, what's beyond from healthy sun exposure, so you're getting enough of that, or not any, or whatever, or your daily multi, even if the said multi, so even if it's ours that contains 1,000 or 1,200, right, is higher than the current RDA, you still may need a separate one to reach these levels. And I know this because probably no one on the planet reads more blood tests than I do. And I'm able to see vitamin D tests based on using our multi, based on not using our multi, based on using that, plus another 1,000, another 2,000 of something else. So I know how to get those people there. That's why I'm giving you these recommendations, okay? So, the bottom line is that you're not gonna hurt yourself. 2 to 4 times the RDA. So even if you get to 4,000 IUs a day, There's no downside that anyone's been able to show, and there may be a significant potential upside. Okay, so here it is. Summary and best recommendation. Here's what to do. Continue to use your multivitamin containing at least 1,000 mics, or 1,000 IUs, or 25 mics of vitamin D, okay, milligrams, micrograms, all right? Following at least 1 month of supplementation at this level, you can have your doctor. Now, what that means, whenever you go to your next physical, is what I'm saying, as long as you've had at least a month of supplementation, right, with your regular multi, your doctor can include a vitamin D status test, and they'll know what that is. Otherwise, you've got to definitely lose your doctor, all right? And it's your next checkup. I mean, my doctor's just automatically done it forever, all right? If your levels are less than 90 nanograms per milliliter, and it's gonna be right there, print it out for you, right? Then you will use a vitamin D3 supplement to get to that number or greater, or a number your doctor suggests, because if doctor's doing the test, they're gonna suggest a number for you like 40, right? Like we do for our athletes. From our experience, so here's what you need to know. It requires an additional 1,000 IUs, which is 25 micrograms, to raise your levels 5 nanograms per milliliter. So if you are 25 nanograms per milliliter, you're gonna have to take at least 1 extra vitamin D to get to the 30, okay? Makes sense? I'm sure you can do the math. As your next checkup, after that, confirm that you've reached that level, equal or greater to. During high health risk periods, there's no harm in taking an extra 1 or 2, okay, on top of your vitamin O. I don't, you know, I know what my immune system is. For all the years I'm trapped on airplanes in tight quarters with people and everything else, and for some reason, I just, if I do get sick, it lasts for about 20 minutes. So, you know, I've never had to worry about taking any extra, but I get 1,200 IUs of vitamin D from my supplements every day of my life since I was 24 years old. That was a long time ago, by the way. All right, so when blood tests are not available, which might be the case for people you work with, I put your numbers down here. If you are up to 70 years of age, you take 1,000 to 1,500 IUs per day of vitamin D from supplements, right? So that's in your multi, pretty much. If you are overweight, and there's a reason for this now, because the vitamin D that you're getting from diet is hidden in your body. If you're overweight, adolescent and adults, or greater than 70, or active adolescents and active adult athletes, take 2,000 IUs per day from supplements if your blood tests are not available. So you got 1,000 in your multi, and then take an extra one. Pretty simple. So I gave it to you all there. All right, done. Now let's get into this. I'm going to try to whip through this, you know, fairly quickly, because it's kind of a complicated thing, and it's very popular. As Kat alluded to, you know, my wife asked me, we were walking 2 days ago, I think 3 days ago, and she goes, you know, everybody's taking collagen protein for their skin. And I go, okay, all right, well, I can see that, but that was happening in the 70s when they first did that. So it's kind of like a rebirth all the way around. But let's get to the facts, okay? I put everything on. I always try to put on one slide. Bottom line, that'll be all you need to know, and then I'll just get into this, and I'll go very quickly through it though. So I want to make sure we finish, you know, somewhere right around noon. Primary uses based on functional properties of intact protein. Okay, so when I say intact protein, that means the collagen strand itself, which is completely different than muscle protein, right? Completely different than, you know, other parts of the body proteins. It has its own unique amino acid structure. And of course, it's not a complete protein because it doesn't contain tryptophan. So you would never use it for, you know, building muscle, obviously. All right, so bottom line is, this is what people use it for: joint and bone health and recovery of the joint and bone for athletes, right? Pain, they use it for pain, and of course, skin health, hair and nails, all right? Because that makes collagen protein is what makes up the most of those things, of these things we talked about. Collagenous proteins is what we're talking about, okay? Like your ligaments and your tendons, okay? And of course, bone. Mainstream science, here's what they say. With the possibility of few exceptions, and I'll give you a couple of those, taking collagen or its building blocks, which means the amino acids that make up collagen, which again, it doesn't have any tryptophan or cysteine, but it does have high proline and it does have high glycine, is unlikely to help unless you're deficient in some of the amino acids I just mentioned, or insufficient, right, for whatever reason, which would be unusual. And of course, if you're eating a good diet and taking away protein, that would be very unusual. But collagenous proteins, you know, that's basically these amino acids that make up those tissues. All right, so the one slide that's kind of got all the information for probably most of your clients and your cells. But let's look at a little bit else. What is okay, first of all, what is collagen and how are collagen supplements in exercise and athletes? So this next part is strictly exercise and athletes. This has nothing to do with skin, nothing to do with muscle building. This has to do with why would an athlete use a collagen protein? They're not using it for muscle building for sure, just so you know that, right? Because I will even recommend it every once in a while to certain athletes, which you'll see in a minute. Primary structure, bottom line is that it is the primary structural protein. That's what collagen is, of tendon, ligament, skin, and bone. In fact, collagen protein makes up 30% of all our protein tissues in our bodies, okay? It is an incomplete protein. It lacks tryptophan and cysteine, all right? It is very low in essential amino acids that are necessary for muscle protein synthesis. This is why you don't use it as a supplement to build muscle, okay? It's high in these amino acids here: glycine, proline, hydroxyproline, okay? All right, and arginine. So these are the molecules that are found in the collagen protein. Of course, some will completely different, so they make the protein of the skin, the protein of the tendons, and so forth. All right, so what's the goal of supplementing? Well, if you hydrolyze, in other words, you take the intact protein, break it down, just like we do in some other proteins, right? The derivatives become peptides and amino acids. What people try to use them for is to increase the collagen synthesis in the body, to speed repair. Now, again, we're talking about athletes now, forget skin. To speed repair of exercise-induced damage of collagenous tissues. Now, remember that. That's connective tissue. So this is not muscle, all right? Including what we call extracellular matrix of muscles, which is collagenous tissues as well, all right? So if you look at this little picture I put in here for you, this just shows you what happens. In other words, you break down those tissues, your tendons and your ligaments, during exercise the same way you break down muscle. The difference is your body's constantly fighting it and trying to protect it. But it still takes this long to get back to baseline. So you're tearing it down during exercise in 72 hours, just like it does with muscle, to fully recover from exercise. All right, so bottom line is that's what people use it for, to try to recover faster and target it. What's the proposed rationale? Well, if you can increase the precursor amino acids to collagen, which are the ones we just talked about, right? Okay, that would augment collagen synthesis to support growth and repair in the target tissues such as ligament, tendon, fascia, cartilage, bone, muscle, and of course the extracellular matrix, which is just which actually kind of is a scaffolding around our muscle and so forth, right? And then I put all your little studies in here on that. But that's analogous to supplementing complete protein or your essential amino acids like Amino Boost in muscle fiber recovery. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to make this connection. Well, guess what? We already know that supplementing before and after exercise speeds the recovery of muscle tissue that's damaged. Well, maybe if we give them collagen tissue or collagen amino acids, we can do the same thing in these. And that's important to maybe athletes that really stress those joints. So this kind of just shows you precursor amino acids getting here, how it would put it all together. Here's the degradation. And we would want to improve this process here after we've applied mechanical forces. Okay. Well, all right, so let's take a look. There's some evidence to support this. I really went through all the studies that are current today, right? That taking 15 grams a day in recovery for specific activities that severely, this is a big one here, challenge connective tissue. So jumping, fast direction changes, right? Okay, things like that. You're constantly moving, basketball, football, right? And these would obviously, that this supplement can actually attenuate the performance decrements. Okay, that definitely happening. And that might help reduce the risk of injury, especially with people with multiple playing days on a regular basis. So it's possible. And we did see some difference. In fact, the studies actually showed that there were a higher number of these collagenous proteins upregulated. So they measured the body after taking this, right? And by the way, the athletes were getting enough protein. They didn't compare this to whey. They always compare it to placebo, which is okay. I'll get to the other part later. And again, this is strictly, we're talking about joints now, right? We're talking about, those collagenous tissues, all right, upregulated in more pathways than placebo. So in other words, it was beyond strength or size. It wasn't supplementing that. It was actually bringing in more different proteins were in different pathways during this. They found that. And they also were able to determine that there was what we call the peptide, pro-collagen biomarker that can tell us how much collagen synthesis is going on. And they did see from this, there was an increase in collagen synthesis from supplementing this, which means that it wasn't an increase in muscle, it was actually an increase in collagen synthesis. So to sports nutritionists that are working with athletes that make, $30 million a year, $10 million a year, it's probably something worth it, right? And that's kind of where I lean at. But studies are equivocal for collagen supplementation to improve the tissue recovery, right? But it leans towards efficacy when, and by the way, you guys know my son plays pro football, so I do have him do it. Kat's son plays pro basketball, and so I told her also, let's mix it in your pre-weigh workout formula, just in case some of this stuff will work, and because every little day makes a difference to a certain extent. So here's if you look at the studies that did show efficacy, somewhere between 15 and 20 grams using a hydrolyzed collagen, because it's already broken down, but greater than 12 weeks. It's not going to happen overnight. All right. But there was no consistent dosage timing, but before and after it made sense. Before and after the workout. So just put it in your pre and put it in your post. And we didn't see any, all the studies that showed positive, they used jumping motions, right? So used in challenging jumping and running change of directions, right? Reactive power of tendons and so forth. All right. And probably more effective with vitamin C. So we don't have to worry about with our athletes. We won't even work with an athlete unless they're taking a complete multivitamin mineral. So you shouldn't have to worry about that with the people you work with. But it does show that vitamin C does make it work, because obviously you can't even make collagen without vitamin C. And you make a lot less of it if you don't have enough vitamin C, which is why that's more important than even a collagen supplement for anything. Okay, so that's it. So many of the argument would be, could you handle this with whey? And no one's really kind of tested the two against collagen supplementation. So the individual diet may really depend on the efficacy of it at the end of the day. Bottom line, that's basically it. Okay, so what to do? Hey, current research suggests that nutritionally, you can maybe possibly support collagen synthesis. That's what we're saying, okay? And if you're a competitive athlete participating in that reactive power movement, right, that increases the risk of injury in connective tissue, right? Football, basketball, any of those, or you just have musculoskeletal weaknesses. And a lot of people, they know who they are. 15 grams a day of collagen peptides to your workout program would possibly enhance the synthesis and speed repair, right? Okay, and there's no downside, and it might have an upside as far as injury. Now, I just put this little picture in here for you. This just shows you the difference between whey protein that has all the essential amino acids and all the ones you need, because the protein score of collagen is 0, and whey, of course, is 1.9, the highest there is, 1.09 highest there is. That's because there's no tryptophan, as you can see in that. So don't use it for muscle, for joint, maybe if you're working with athletes. Otherwise, I don't see any value for your average customer. Quickly, let's go through skin. You're going to get the same answer, right? The bottom line is the goal of using it is replace natural collagen losses with aging. Here's what happens. Here's a good picture for you, right? This is a healthy, younger skin. This is what I used to look like in my 20s, my skin underneath the epidermis and in the dermis. Lots of collagen, lots of elastin, so everything was smooth. As you get older, you don't make it well. You don't make collagen, it just breaks, right? And elastin doesn't pull your skin tight, so if you're fat and you lose weight, you sags, all right, when you get older, because you've lost the elastin hormone. So you end up with those wrinkles and things like that. So that's just fact, right? Rationale for using it. Starting in our 20s, we lose about 1% of collagen per year, right? And up to 30% at the first 5 years of menopause for females, and of course, same thing with males as we get into our 30s and 40s and 50s. All right, so people use collagen supplements to support aging skin. I mean, that's just sort of that rationale. So the bottom line is we're just trying to get it back the way it was here rather than the damage. So what's the answer to that? Well, here it is. Like I said, everything on one slide for you. Unless you are deficient in the amino acids that make up skin collagen supplements will do little, if anything, to reverse or alter the age decline. So published studies, I did go through all the newest ones, and you do find studies that show collagen supplementation, just like we found in the athlete on skin. We saw some value, right? And short and long term here, where it does value in wound healing and value in skin aging, right? And that's only 3 to 10 grams in that on that side of it. So, okay. And then in some actually reported there was some better skin elasticity and less wrinkles, all right? So, and it was safe. There was no problems with it. So you're not going to hurt yourself. If you feel like it's working, okay, it's probably working, okay, even if it's not. Mainstream science, though, this comes right from the top dermatologists in the world, right here, right now, right? Humans make less and break down more collagen as they age, obviously, like anything else. Taking collagen supplements won't deliver intact collagen to your skin. In other words, you can't eat somebody's skin and all of a sudden have better skin. All right, it's like eating a brain, I'm going to get smarter. So, you know, at some point you got to kind of understand that, right? Nor can you direct amino acids from ingesting collagen protein to build more collagen in your skin. The problem is not that the skin is deficient, like I mentioned earlier, it's the building material, or you're short on building materials, which is the amino acids. It's the machinery that builds collagen. It just doesn't work well when we get older, just like other stuff doesn't work well when we get older. That's what's the problem is. Things that make muscle don't work well. You can't just keep eating more protein to build it. You can use it to stave it off to a certain extent, but collagen's different, quite different. So unless the diet's deficient, loading up on more amino acids and collagen is not likely to do anything. And again, there's some caveats there. But here's what I want you to focus on: photoaging. Photoaging is where aging of the skin takes place. Ready? Skin aging is caused by exposure to UV radiation. And that's why, stay with me on this one, the butt of an 80-year-old female or male is almost identical to skin on the butt of a baby because it's not exposed to sun. So that tells you where aging is. It's coming from UV rays, right? So keep that in mind. That's factual, by the way. All right, don't want to look at a butt of that age, but I'm just telling you, that's the skin we're talking about, right? 90% of aging comes from photoaging, and that can be controlled, right? So very simple. Here's the facts right here. Put it on one slide real quick so we can get to the end of this thing. I know we're going long here. Sorry about that. All right, but avoid direct sunlight as much as possible. Use sunscreen. Protect skin damage from the inside out by taking all the things that make your new skin every day of your life, right? So make sure you just, eat a healthy diet, stay active, and maintain a healthy weight. So you're not robbing things in the body. And then use proper supplementation or dietary support to bridge the food gap between levels of vitamins and minerals and the other bioactives delivered in foods to make the proper recommended amounts. Okay, no, same answer to everything, right? To allow the body to upregulate all systems, including the body's largest organ. Guess what the largest organ of the body is? Your skin. And every day it's replacing itself to preserve youthful skin and minimize age. And here's what you do. Your complete multi, right? That supplies all collagen cofactors, vitamin C's, and all the other things that help you make collagen in the body. Your carotenoids, so this is all in your superior antioxidant, lycopene, lutein, zeaxanthin, and astaxanthin. I just added it, so you'll love that. Naturally found in skin and eyes. These things are naturally found in our skin and eyes to protect us from the rays. That's how we evolved, right? And we don't get enough because we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables to get even close to being enough, right? So these things are naturally in our skins, and if we get enough of them in our skin, we're upregulating, we're protecting our skin, by having these things constantly in there. And then your 1 gram of protein we talked about, so you don't have to worry about the amino acids all the way around. And guess what that looks like? That's just your play span, adding a superior antioxidant for your skin. And then, of course, you guys all know, I sent this out a long time ago, our joint support. It's been used in 3 clinical trials now for skin, and shows a significant difference. But the collagen protein's different. It's actually a type 2, and it's fragments. And it doesn't add it for amino acids like the sort of sham feeding of treating your skin with collagen. It triggers natural synthesis because it tricks the body into thinking it needs to make it because it's hurt. So that's completely different. And it's a micronized, patented piece, so it can get through the intestines intact. So again, that's how you get that done. And then you guys know this is what it looks like in your programs. And this is what we give every athlete right here as well. Goes all the way through it. All right, so we got to wind this down. So I really apologize for going so long. I guess it was the vitamin D thing there, but it's New Year's, and we'll end with this. And I'll make this go real fast so you guys can get on here and ask questions. But New Year's resolutions, I'm going to offer you guys one, right? One for you to make. And I will be there as you deliver it this next year, okay? All right, so we already know what the top New Year's resolution, I don't need to repeat that. You guys already know. They're always going to be diet, exercise more, lose weight, drink less. I had to throw that in there because I make that one every year. And yeah, I've been actually stuck to it once. Okay. I never drank as an athlete, so I'm kind of making up for lost time there. All right, broken resolutions, there they are. Exactly the same ones. They're the top ones. So we got that. That's nothing new, right? But look up at the top here. Nutrition is the basis for everything human. Somehow we forgot that. Somehow we forgot, and we think of medicine. That doesn't create a body or a human being. That's after the fact. But nutrition creates life, sustains it, and it manifests as your body composition. So you are what you eat, right? So here's just some facts. 50% of adults make New Year's resolutions. More than half give up before March, and 90% will ditch it before the end of the year. Most popular ones we just looked at, we saw all that, but that validates the failure rate, because we already know that everybody trying to diet, 80% fail in the first year, 95 within 5. But nutrition is the basis for all these failures. Weight loss can only be accomplished with proper food intake. End of story. We've gone through that. Exercise doesn't. In fact, people gain weight, right? It is not a weight loss solution by itself. Exercise can't make the body change fast enough for people to stick with it, so they all quit. Eating healthy is misinterpreted. There's a lot of ways to eat healthy and eat what you want. And there are too many wonderful, palatable choices to stick with a plan. So it's just nutrition will sabotage everything. You can't make a difference, or as I like to say, save the world with fitness if you don't include nutrition. Nutrition is something everyone will sign up for if you make it compelling, if you present it properly. If you don't, then why would they sign up for it? The right program can change the body in one day, thus offering the best chance of them wanting to do it again the next day, and eventually establish a very quick addiction to fitness. And that's my goal for every human being on the planet. You can't do it with exercise. You have to have nutrition. So I'm offering you a one and only New Year's resolution this year, so you can be the resolver for everyone else, making all those resolutions we just looked at. Make a commitment to nutrition for 2021 and incorporate my 4 E's. You guys have all seen it from my career to succeed in your resolution. I'm going to just take you through real quick. Introduce this. So introduce every client your program, the dotFIT program, and willing family members, every one of them. I know I'm preaching to the choir for some of you, but some of you that aren't doing that, do it. Make it compelling. So at least 75% start while you set it up. It takes you 10 minutes to set it up. And that's if you spend a long time. Set a goal to achieve at least a 50% success rate of clients completing a 6 to 12 week. Make it whatever you want, right? Offer something special up front for all finishers. And lay out your success metrics any way you want. But I always like this, right? At least 1 month they have to log food to hit the right calorie average. So they at least learn that, right? And they can use their diet, intermittent fasting, they can use whatever they want, keto, but stop at the daily goal number. It's flexible. That's what's so wonderful about our program. Flexible. It's on their terms. Enter measurements weekly. Use that. Do it. Weight and or body fat, whatever it is, enter it. And use the auto feedback. Keep on going. I use it for every famous person I work with. It's like having me in the room all the time with them, telling them what to do, looking at their body weekly. All right. Start and maintain at least baseline dietary supplement. Make sure they all at least do baseline. Your multivitamin, obviously, your omega, and your protein. You guys all know what that is. I beat you up enough about that, right? And that'll accelerate results, but most importantly, make them feel better the next day. That's what you got to do. Every single day, they got to have more energy. And then set the metrics of 75% of finishers. So I'm not going to say they're all going to finish. Achieve their body composition goal. They get there for what you set. Mindful that whoever finishes is a winner and their result. All right, so here's how you use the 4 E's around it. You guys know my 4 E's: educate, learn something new, exemplify, wear your brand, execute, hold yourself accountable to a plan, and evolve. You all know that, okay? Evolve to get better. That's for your career. No limits, you're in control, and that changes. You've seen me do this lecture a million times. Let's apply it just to this one nutrition, your New Year's resolution. Let's apply it to that. Learn something new every day, right? Well, use the program daily. You'll learn something new every day. Study the baseline supplement recommendations, all right? Study the multivitamin program, why that's so important to our play span versus just a lifespan. Pick a supplement to study in the PDSRG, any of these things. Pick one nutrition topic from our website that supports your client's goals, okay? And attend our webinars like you are. And replay them. Exemplify. Lead by example. That's the easiest one of all. Don't just know your subject, live it. Use the program for yourself. Right now, today, run your program and go lose 10 pounds, gain 10 pounds of muscle, do whatever you want to do, but set it up and use it. Feel and see the difference, and that'll just pass right through to your clients in your orbit. Execute. Set some goals, right? Be accountable to your mission. So set a goal of what you want to do. Set goals for your nutrition, study how much you're going to study, and your client's success, and reach those. Execute, analyze how things are going, and evolve, get better, right? Each person, learn from your clients. Integrate what you are learning from your clients to help you achieve the higher success rate. All right, so there's your summary. Execute the education. This is all for your one. This is your little microcosm of your big career 4 E's, right? What do you do for the, just keep it all to execute the education, evolve to be better, be your product, and don't get complacent, and stay positive. No matter how many times your client says, I don't want to do this, make them do it. Stay positive and work, okay? So, and again, it's not about toughness, it's about strength to endure this all the way through. Okay, so here it is. Proper nutrition supports the prevention before cure. So, just so you know, I'm going to leave you with this today, everybody. Although I picked the gym to be the perfect physical resource because so many people come into the gym, you don't need the gym to deliver nutrition, obviously, right? But I spent a lifetime, and you should know this, a lifetime and a fortune, millions and millions of dollars to get simple nutrition planning into your scope of practice, knowing that the members of my gyms are not going to go somewhere else to get it. They need to get it all there in one place so it's all tied to their goals, knowing that. So I spent at least 10 years and at least 10, 15, $20 million, and we continue to spend money to keep it in your scope of practice, right? And the bottom line is, and all preparing for this moment in human existence. We've had 11 viral epidemics this century and a catastrophic pandemic. And the reality is there's going to be a whole bunch more. Vaccines by nature are reactive. Nutrition is proactive. Keeping the immune system strong is 100% nutrition dependent. And it is the most critical part of any antiviral strategy. And medical professions who avoid nutrition recommendations in prevention and as an adjunct in treatment should be considered medically negligent. When you deliver a clinical nutrition, when you deliver non-clinical nutrition, which we are non-clinical, fitness becomes the primary preventative side of true healthcare, and as opposed to the disease care model that we are currently experiencing. And shame on us. We offer hope with the prevention before cure approach, with the added benefit of shaping your body. So in other words, I'm also keeping you healthy while I'm making your body look the way you want it to look and the way you want to perform. Wow, who can do that? So you can work with my staff, prevention before, or you can work with their staff. And that's what our hospitals look like today because they were not with us. So nutrition, just do it. You got to eat anyway, so you might as well make it fit the goal. Let's bury 2020 and let's change the paradigm for 2021. Prevention before cure. So thank you. We'll open to questions.
All right. I told you, you guys, it was going to be good. So it is now time for questions, right? We are here to answer your questions, and we have a little bit of a special offer for those of you interested in more education, one of Neil's 4 E's to career and life success. So let me share my screen.
Yep.
And let's see if I can drop it in here.
Will she be able to do that? Share hers.
Yes.
If you have questions, you guys,
Mhm. We're putting them in
the
there.
audience view. Yeah, and open up the questions tab, if you will. Hold on. What is with GoToWebinar today? It's just being weird. Hold on, guys. Stay with me. If you have questions, open up the questions tab, type it in. I see one. I see a couple coming in now. I saw people.
Oh, you know, Kat, what I forgot to tell everybody?
What?
We're going to be hooked. Our program will be hooked to the Apple Watch in about a week.
I
Huh.
saw that. So exciting. Did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Did you really hear that just now? Okay, hold on. I'm having a little bit of a.
We apologize to everybody on this one, but it is our last masterclass of the year, so we're allowed to screw up a little bit here.
Yeah, but this just doesn't normally happen. I think, I think we're just chalking up.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah.
We're just chalking up 2020.
Yeah, exactly. It's COVID. It's got our
We're just
computer.
chalking up 2020 for like, everything is gonna go wrong. Okay, period. Like, that's just how it's gonna work in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just announce it because apparently I can't find where the heck my PowerPoint is.
Well, do you want me to pull mine up?
So
it's on mine too. Then you got to give a screen back to me. Go ahead, you can talk to it.
Okay, so yeah, let's just talk to it. So here's the thing. We have a special offer for you guys with NASM. And the offer is they have just released. Okay, hold on. Stop.
Can you see mine now?
Nope, no, because I have to give you the ball.
Okay, give me the ball.
So NASM has just released a weight loss specialist course. It's revised and updated. I know a lot of the researchers that worked on it. So it's really cool. They included a lot of the behavioral components of weight loss. And the offer is 25% off. Okay, Neil, I'm going to try to, because I
give it to me now, because I've got it up. I've got it up here. I've got this the prezo up with the show my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if Neil can get it up.
Got it?
Totally.
Got it?
Waiting to view, waiting to view, waiting to view.
You what?
Okay, here we go. Yay! I see it. Do you guys see it? Someone type in the questions or in the chat if you guys see it. Yep, that was perfect.
Okay, good. Good.
Okay, good. Okay, yes. So what we've got is we've got this free mini course, right? The science behind effective weight loss in this link. And so I'm going to post the slides on our website later. Maybe just give me a few hours to get the slides up. And so we got a little mini course, and then that's free. But if you want to try, so check it out first, and then a 40% discount on the course if you enroll by the end of the year, but you got to use the promo code dotFIT. Okay, so once again, this is a free mini course, the science behind effective weight loss. And then if you like it, you can jump in and enroll for 40% off with the promo code dotFIT. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, I suggest that you do that. And again, those of you that have time before the beginning of the year, or maybe you're doing something new in January with your clients, incorporating nutrition, just like Neil's challenged all of us to do, then this is a great opportunity to learn some new skills around weight loss from a very cool, updated, evidence-based, perspective. Okay, so there's that. Now, the other side of it is, next slide, Neil, we have a special going on for our weight loss products. So throughout the end of the year, you can get 25% off all of our weight loss products in December only. And that is, hold on, you guys, I know you've selected this slide, but PowerPoint doesn't want to cooperate with us today either. So it expires on the 31st, and the promo code is December 2020. There we go. Yay! The promo code is, oh, no, I misspoke. The promo code is Holiday December 2020 to get 25% off of the Lean MR, Weight Loss and Liver Support, ThermExcel, and Carb Repel. So Chad, is this on top of the trainer discount or no? This is just for clients.
It's on top of the trainer discount, Chad?
Or is this just for clients?
That's just, well, anybody's gonna get something from it. I mean, you might get a little bit more than your 40%, but
Okay.
for trainers,
Okay.
Yeah, because these are trainers on here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know our clubs are doing
Okay,
this.
very cool.
You'll get a discount
Awesome.
on top of your 40.
Yeah.
Not sure it's 25%.
Okay, let's take your questions. So yes,
right.
you guys, I'm gonna post a copy of the slides to our website so that you can get the links and the codes and all that if you're in a position where you're just listening, you can't write it down, etc. So I'll post that. Okay, so let's take your questions. For those of you who have to leave, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure learning and presenting with you this year.
And happy holidays and good riddance to 2020.
Exactly. For those of you who want to get your questions answered or want to listen to the questions, feel free to stay on. We have maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so before we got to hop off for our next meeting.
Sorry I went long, but it was important. I wanted to leave the
Good
year
stuff.
properly, the best I could with you guys.
Absolutely. Okay, so Carlos wants to know if we want to protect our skin from direct sunlight, but also need sunlight to make vitamin D, what would be the recommendation? Taking X amount of sunlight, just enough for our vitamin D, but not too much to damage our skin. What amount of time of direct sunlight be balanced? That's a good question.
I would never, ever even consider using sunlight to get my vitamin D. It's not even in the thought process. You're going to get a little bit. You wear a short sleeve shirt out and you got sun. You'll get a little bit there. It's not a way to do it, and there's no way of knowing that. It depends on where the sun is in the sky. There's no math equation. Now, I put the math equation. If you guys look up vitamin D in the PDSRG, you'll see the math equation depending on where the sun is and what part of the world and what time of the year, okay, and how much skin exposure, which is basically the whole body. Okay, so don't even look at it that way. Just do what I told you to do. Take 1,000 to 1,200 IUs a day, right? 25 micrograms daily, and you're going to be just fine no matter what sunlight you get, if over a long period of time. To get to the 30 plus, you might have to take an extra vitamin D. Don't even think about sunlight.
Okay, there you have it.
It's a bonus if you get some without hurting yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so Joey wants to know what types of foods are considered okay for the 0 to 25% of calories for fasting protocols. It was varied. There was no set protocol for it, Joey, but if it were me, what would I pick? I would pick protein, right, on those fasting days, because obviously, and I would pick a low calorie source protein as well, maybe mixed in with a little bit of fiber, but that's what I would pick for those fasting days. Okay, so Jerry wants to know, in regards to collagen, what about taking it in to slow down hair loss, Neil?
Yeah, it's the same answer as it was for skin. So yeah, I didn't talk about that or nail loss. If you want, the number one thing people say when they start taking a multivitamin and mineral for the first time in their lives, they go, God, my hair and my skin, and my nails are like growing much faster. Okay, and again, that's probably true, because they were deficient or insufficient in so many vitamins and minerals, and they all work together. So as long as you're taking that, I don't think collagen is going to make any difference in hair loss all the way around. And getting your proper amount of protein and your complete multivitamin.
Okay, there's the answer, you guys, and that's it. People are commenting that they've tried fasting, that they haven't. Elizabeth Perry, thank you very much for the feedback, says, for a trainer, you know, the code is for clients only. So trainers, you still get your 40% off, but your clients will get their 25% off. So thank you for that feedback. That's all I have. Unless you guys have any more questions, last call for the year. Well, that's not true. We'll always answer your questions if you email us, right? So Neil, Neal, at dotFIT.com, Kat, K-A-T, at dotFIT.com. And if you got a product specific question, that'd be Chad, C-H-A-D, at dotFIT.com. Or if you have any issues with products, he's happy to help. So Neil, why don't you sign us off? I know you did it already, but some closing words of wisdom, or just sign us off and we'll ride off into the sunset with sunscreen on.
All right, yeah, but I did. I pretty much said what I wanted to say there at the end. And, you know, just for all of you that join us, you know, for these classes and everything else that we do in this, you know, fight to sort of get people to think rationally about what they should do for their health, rather than waiting till it breaks down and then having to go to a doctor. I know they would rather go to a gym than a hospital. Trust me. I already know that, right? And I know they'd rather take a simple multivitamin and mineral every single day of their life, from the time they're in the womb when they took the prenatal to the time they're in the tomb, right? I know they'd rather do that than take medication in a pill box with like 15 different medications that are just going to make them die earlier. You know, they solve something immediately, but that's because of something they could have prevented in the first place. So, you know, let's just, you know, hopefully we get this thing behind us, and we will get it behind us. You know, the vaccine being out there now, of course, it's after the fact, but that's what you got to do. You know, and then we'll get this thing behind us. We'll get back in the regular world and the regular life, you know, that it'll eventually get there. But in the meantime, hopefully it's taught us a lesson. And I am going to leverage that lesson forever to get people to start thinking more and more about taking care of themselves. So when they do get a virus, really, it's nothing but a cold and a sniffle, like it is for me or so many other people that do the right thing. So anyway, that's where we got to be. That's where we want to go. And just, you know, thank you guys for, you know, staying with us for this big ride, and a lot of great things ahead. You know, we just we've actually acquired a few more companies and moved into a couple other ones, and a lot of great things are going to happen here in the future. And we're going to have a great ride, because we're going to be the champions of the primary side of healthcare very soon.
All right, well said. Thanks, everybody.
Happy
See you next
holidays.
year.
Yep.
Bye.